I want to say that the topic, farmers, herders crisis, and general insecurity in Benue State, Nigeria. Most of what has been discussed today is based on farmers, herders crisis. I'm going to touch on that, and I'm going to go into general insecurity also, briefly. Now, when we look at farmers, herders crisis, I'll also go into general insecurity in areas of kidnapping, in areas of the Fulani is trying to dominate, take our lands, and create or Fulanize our territory. I also look at other areas of general security, such as cultism, and so on and so forth. My paper starts with the introduction. I'm talking about Benue State, the Middle Belt, and the fact that Benue State has become a theater of conflicts of many dimensions, and more devastating among these conflicts are those of Fulani pastoralists and farmers. I'm not going to read through, I'm just going to peruse and bring out the main points because of lack of time. Now, these malacies have significant implications on Nigeria's internal peace and security, and greatly threatens national food security. Now, if we look at this paper, you discover that the paper reveals that while the Fulani pastoralists are not the owners of the land in this region, the rich nature of the soil that has given room for the free disease pasture. That is the climate in Benue State is favorable to cattle. And that is the reason why you find them migrating in large numbers, especially during the rainy season. And as a result of their coming down to this place, conflicts have become inevitable, because when they come into our lands, they destroy the lands, they destroy the farms. And consequently, our people depending on their farming for living are now bound to try to retaliate. And it was as a result of the constant clashes between the Fulani pastoralists and the farmers that the Benue State government now decided to pass the anti-open grazing law, which was meant to bring peace between the two sides. Now, many people have misunderstood that the open grazing law. They think that it is anti-pastoralist, okay. But they do not know that there's the other side, which protects the farmers, and it also protects the herders. But the herders have actually tended to misunderstand it. You know, there's provision for those who rustle cattle. If you rustle the cattle of the Fulani herdsmen, you will be imprisoned. Not only are you going to be imprisoned, you stand a chance of being imprisoned and also fined. But they didn't look at that way. They started to complain. They went to court. They called on the Fulanis of the whole world that okay, that the anti-grazing law was like declaring war on the whole Fulani race. And they extended an invitation to all the Fulanis of the world to come into Benue State. And you are all witnesses to what happened, that in January 2018, Benue State was attacked, where more than 150 people were killed. And about 70-something of them, about 75 of them, were buried in Makodi. And some people cynically insinuated that what happened was that in the caskets, there were no people there. That's what some of the Fulani herdsmen, the propaganda which they were given. But you are aware of what happened. And apart from this, you have attacks in Gatu area, and so on and so forth. So I went on to look at the Benue State geographical and contextual rebels. The fact that Benue State was created in 1976. The fact that Benue State is made up of 6 million people with 23 local governments, a kind of historical appraiser there. Now, as Honorable Henry has already said, the Fulani have obscure origins. Actually, they came from Senegal from 14th century, where they moved into Hausa in the 16th century, and then they gradually started to move down to central Nigeria, and they took Benue State. When they started causing havoc in different parts of Nigeria, it was said, some of you must have heard that Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State visited their leaders and tried to appease them by giving them some money so that they wouldn't attack his people. Not just that, it was also said that they were recently given billions of naira by the federal government so that they will stop attacking. Let me put it that way in quotes. But these actions by the federal government are not real actions. I look at them as actions that are actually fake, because this money that was given to them was actually used to purchase more weapons, which they used in their attacks. They were not serious efforts, despite that. So if you look at that situation, it is not convincing, because these actions, as I said, have tended to embolden the herdsmen instead of trying to pacify the situation. And if you look at the crisis properly between the herdsmen and farmers, this crisis can be said that they are not actually based on trying to contest for political appointments and so on and so forth, that they are based on access to farmlands, I mean access to grazing lands and so on and so forth. You know, the Fulanis coming in, looking for areas where they graze, and then in the process, the farms are destroyed, and then there are retaliatory moves. I know that when a Fulani man attacks you, he tends to disappear. You know, you cannot find settlements where you say that these are Fulani settlements, because whenever they attack, they disappear. You can't find them. You find a settlement, a Fulani settlement today, tomorrow you will not find it there. They attack and then they disappear. Why our people are made vulnerable because they can easily be identified. Their lands, they are settled there, they can't move, they stay there, and consequently they are easily found. And that is why they are the greatest casualties in this. So as I said earlier, as a result of these conflicts, that was when the anti-open grazing law was formed by the Benue State government. And if you look at that law is being supported by the Nigeria's Land Use Act of 1978. By this Land Use Act, land actually belongs to the state governments. It doesn't belong to the federal government. So the federal government doesn't have the right to come and begin to impose that, okay, they want to take land and so forth and so on. They have tried different approaches. A bill that was meant to, take the waterways, which failed in the past, has recently been introduced, and I hear it is currently being considered. And apart from that, if we look at the paper, you will see why the law was formed there, from the speech of His Excellency himself, and the fact that the MUTA, as a result of that, went to court to challenge the law, called on the Fulanis of the whole world to come and occupy the land, and then finally the attack on January 2018 that led to so many people being killed. So this has actually been adequately discussed by the various speakers. And so I'm going to look at the other cases of insecurity, because this paper is talking of Hilda's farmers' crisis. And the other speakers have done justice to that. We have looked at that. What are the other areas of insecurity, which I'm going to mention there, and then I'm going to go into the various recommendations which I have, one of which includes, to me, I look at state police as being very key, a key factor in that issue, apart from the spiritual aspect that has been discussed by His Royal Majesty. Now, if we look at cases of kidnapping, of course, kidnapping started with oil workers in the 80s and 90s. It has not just started now. So, when kidnapping started, it had now been taken over by the Fulani herdsmen. Some of you have traveled to the country. Some people have been kidnapped here. If you look at some of the, if you travel from from Benin down to Lagos through a road, it is a very dangerous area. Whenever vehicles are moving, they come to the road, they start shooting sporadically, and eventually now they hold people and take them into the forest where they begin to demand ransom. These are very dangerous areas, and that is why you should fast and pray before you go out.